Gay and lesbian Catholics lined up to receive communion in church today, but they were denied the sacrament by their parish priests. This has led to more accusations of intolerance against the Chicago Archdiocese. Tonight, gay activists are expressing their outrage.
NBC5's Sharon Wright reports on today's masses where priests followed orders from Francis Cardinal George.
They approached the altar ready to receive communion, but it was not to be. Instead, these gay and lesbian Catholics, wearing rainbow sashes, were blessed and turned away.
This is outrageous what happened here in the cathedral today. We're good enough to be blessed, but we're not good enough to receive the Holy Eucharist. There seems to be some inconsistency there.
It's absolutely hurt. You know, I have been a Catholic all my life and have celebrated in church and have never been denied communion.
Jennifer and her partner, among the 15 wearing the rainbow sash, well aware their cardinal had sent a memo to the priests of Chicago's Catholic Archdiocese instructing them to deny communion to those wearing the sash. Francis Cardinal George calling it an inappropriate political statement. The cardinal adding, without the sash, they could receive communion.
I think it's unfair and hypocritical.
And we come as who we are, and he needs to accept all of his parishioners.
We're not here to make a political statement. This is about inclusion. What happened in this cathedral today in Chicago is about intolerance.
Others disagree and followed the cardinal's wishes.
Every gay person, every gay Catholic is allowed to receive communion. The sanctuary, the house of God, is not the place for a protest.
Sharon Wright, NBC5 News.
Well, the Chicago Archdiocese has had no comment tonight. However, in Los Angeles, the cardinal there took a different approach, welcoming the Rainbow Sash members to the cathedral and to communion.
Straight ahead here on NBC5 News tonight, a brazen robbery.
Got away with $4,000. It was a controversial Sunday service at Chicago's Holy Name Cathedral. Gays and lesbians showed up to pray. When they tried to take Holy Communion, they got a handshake instead. The church says it's because of rainbow-colored sashes they're wearing in protest. Darlene Hill reports.
It's the 12:30 Sunday sermon at Holy Name Cathedral. Nearly 40 people were confirmed, and a handful of gays and lesbians wearing rainbow-colored sashes sat on their pews, waiting to find out if they would receive Holy Communion.
I think the sacraments come from God, and they shouldn't be used as political instruments by the Catholic Church.
The Rainbow Sash Committee has been coming to Holy Name on Pentecost Sunday for the past 4 years. It's the annual celebration of the birth of the Christian Church. In this pew, people prayed for acceptance, and then, one by one, they each walked up for communion. Instead, they got a handshake.
He asked my name, and he told me that as long as I was wearing the sash, he couldn't give me communion.
I'm very disappointed with Cardinal George. There have been several other cardinals, bishops, priests who have supported us.
Where what we saw today in the cathedral was discrimination at the Eucharistic table.
Archbishop Cardinal Francis George was not at the Mass. He was on a flight from Rome where he spent some time with the Pope. He says the church treats gays and lesbians like other Christians, but the church considers the sashes a symbol of protest, and communion is then not allowed.
Communion is not a time of protest. You don't use worship for something else. It doesn't matter what the cause is.
At Holy Name, gays and lesbians say they will continue to pray for more understanding and acceptance from the church and from Cardinal Francis George.
God is certainly part of my life, and to deny communion for me is an attempt to separate me from the God who inspires me and fulfills me.
On the north side, Darlene Hill, Fox News, Chicago.
And police say men and women serving tours of duty.
Francis Cardinal George has returned from Rome to a growing controversy here in Chicago. At issue are rainbow sashes, which symbolize gay activism. During his trip to Rome, the cardinal said that the rainbow symbol is a political statement, and those who wear it can be denied communion. Today at Holy Name Cathedral, rainbow activists said they are faithful Catholics who just want to send a message to the church, but as they approached the altar, they were offered a blessing and a handshake, not a sacrament.
It's Pentecost. It's the birthday of the church. This is about inclusion. What happened in this cathedral today in Chicago is about intolerance.
They should be denied. It's a strong belief that they, they're human beings, but yet I feel strongly that they should be denied.
There was a similar protest in Minnesota today, but there rainbow activists were allowed to take communion. Well, picking up
area this holiday weekend.
More controversy over communion by the Catholic Church. Today, some gay and straight members of the church were denied the Eucharist at Holy Name Cathedral in Chicago. WGN's Fred Shropshire explains why.
This is outrageous what happened here in the cathedral today. This is not about church teaching as the cardinal is trying to promote. This is about personal prejudice.
That the response from Joe Murray, who was denied communion at Sunday Mass for wearing a rainbow sash. He and about a dozen others say they're not trying to make a political statement. They're just being who they are, most Catholic practicing homosexuals.
Just the fact that we're doing this in the public eye says that we're standing for what we believe in.
Cardinal Francis George recently sent a memo to all pastors in the Archdiocese of Chicago saying, receiving the Lord in Holy Communion is never a moment for an individual to exploit, turning attention to himself or herself, attempting to force a change in the meaning of the sacrament.
It's a matter of the policy of all the bishops of the United States. We agreed to act together on this. Most of us have.
Joe Murray says churches in Los Angeles, Minneapolis, and Rochester, New York have granted communion to all Catholics wearing the sash. At Holy Name Cathedral, those who don sashes received verbal blessings.
The Rainbow Sash movement has been denied communion for the past 4 years, even though some bishops have a moral dilemma denying some parishioners.
To me, it's a sad, difficult situation. We can't have simply inclusion at the expense of the truth.
Yet some members of the church, including Reverend John Joseph Francis, who is gay, can receive communion because he doesn't wear his sexuality on his chest.
Gay Catholics can receive communion, just like adulterers and fornicators and everybody else that doesn't, or people get abortions, sure, fine. If people support abortion, everybody's allowed to receive communion. But I don't see anybody getting an abortion wearing, a pink sash.
Others say homosexuals need to develop a more personal relationship with God.
You need to put your little sash down and go get on your knees somewhere and try to get a relationship with the God who loves you.
At the crux of the argument is the church's fundamental belief that homosexuality is mortally sinful. Evidently, for now, not all parishioners see eye to eye. At Holy Name Cathedral, Fred Shropshire, WGN News.
Members of the Rainbow Sash movement have several chapters across the country. They say their sash is a symbol of the gifts gays bring to the church. Now, still ahead, President Bush.
A few minutes with the updated forecast for Memorial Day. In other news, a rally in protest of a decision by the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Chicago to deny communion to gay members when they wear a rainbow sash to Mass. Cardinal George has said wearing the sash goes against church teachings about homosexuality. We get more now from ABC 7's Evelyn Holmes.
As expected, gay and lesbian Catholics wearing multicolored sashes to symbolize their homosexuality were denied communion today at Holy Name Cathedral.
We are a church, and the rules of a church that's based on ignorance and fear, exclusion is just it's destructive to the church, and it contradicts Christ's message of love.
As the congregation celebrated the Pentecost, members of the Rainbow Sash movement used the sashes to let church officials know that they no longer plan on staying in the clerical closet.
I think that those who would cause controversy over laws that are clearly stated are somehow not really serving the Lord and God that they profess that they serve.
They receive the sign of the cross, and they are kind of going against what the church believes.
Cardinal Francis George issued a memo to priests telling them not to give members of the movement communion if they were wearing a rainbow sash because it indicated a disagreement with the church's teachings that gay sexual relations are sinful. George has said it's not a question of withholding communion from gays, but making sure that the Eucharist should not become a political forum.
This is a symbol of designation. It just says that we are gay and lesbian Catholics coming to celebrate the Holy Eucharist on Pentecost Sunday, the birthday, I might add, of our church too.
But gay Catholics like John Ramos did receive communion. He says he doesn't agree with the cardinal on a lot of things, but supports the communion order.
I don't see anybody getting an abortion wearing, a pink sash, or with a partner getting an abortion wearing a green sash, or anybody else wearing any sash that disagree with the policy of the church.
Members of the Rainbow Sash movement do say some of their members have received communion in Rochester, New York, and also Minneapolis. What's next for them is a strong presence at the National Council of Bishops that plans to meet in Washington, D.C. in November. Reporting from the newsroom, Evelyn Holmes, ABC 7 News.
And there's much more ahead tonight.
Tell me what
Cathedral, a Catholic church. Cardinal Francis George has said the sashes are a symbol of opposition to the church's doctrine on homosexuality and exploit the communion ritual. Joining us now from Boston, Ray Flynn, the former ambassador to the Vatican and author of the book John Paul II, A Portrait of the Pope and the Man. And from Rochester, New York, Charlie Mudge, a member of the Rainbow Sash movement in New York State, who wore his rainbow sash and still received communion yesterday. Welcome to both of you. Welcome. Charlie, the Chicago group was blocked. Your group was not. Are you disappointed?
I'm very disappointed. Cardinal George made a statement unlike other cardinals and bishops across the United States.
So you're disappointed that the Chicago group was blocked, not that you were allowed to take communion?
Certainly I'm disappointed they were not allowed. The people in St. Paul, as well as here in Rochester, were given communion.
Well, I mean, didn't you want the conflict and the publicity that would come from your group being blocked as well?
I'm sorry, Mr. Scott, we're not an activist group that protests. You must have a misunderstanding of what the Rainbow Sash is about. We come as Catholics who happen to be gay, lesbian, also straight, and we come wearing the sash as a message of our presence as part of the body of Christ. We are not there to protest. We are not there to disrupt the Mass in any way, shape, or manner.
But if the group in Chicago had taken off their sashes, they would have been allowed to receive communion, right?
That is the church's stand, yes.
So in doing that, aren't they sort of rubbing people's faces in it?
Well, at this point, the church is not open to discussion. The messages coming from the church are not pastoral in any manner. What we seek to do is, by wearing our sash, just to make sure that those in the church understand we are here, our families are in the churches, gay, lesbian people are in parishes across the United States. There's thousands of gay and lesbian children growing up today in the Catholic Church around this world that need the message that they're not evil.
Ambassador Flynn, he says this is not about protest. Is this about religion or something else?
Well, interestingly enough, even the co-founder of this organization in Chicago sent an email saying that he's very disappointed about this protest because of the fact that it wasn't really an effort about religious freedom or religious observance of receiving Holy Communion. It was really political exploitation, that they were just trying to make a political statement inside a noted cathedral in Chicago. I think people are pretty disgusted when people have their own political agenda and then they want to make their own case inside the church at the expense of the sacrament of Holy Eucharist. In fact, Cardinal George even said to them, in fact, gay and homosexuality, lesbian people have been receiving communion for years and years. It's just a question if they're going to use it to make a political statement. But the big issue here is not the handful of people that went inside the church to get on television. It's the fact that the media, the national media, is afraid, and politicians are afraid, particularly Catholic politicians, are afraid to criticize these people because of the fact that they're afraid that it's not politically correct. It goes to show you what's happening in our culture today. You can criticize the Catholic Church, you can even take your protest inside Catholic churches, and everybody's afraid to say a word about it.
The point has been made, Charlie, that the bishop has given communion to this group before, but when the group kept hammering on and on about this rainbow sash business, that's when the church finally had to draw a line.
Well, I certainly have to disagree with Mr. Flynn. This is not a political statement. We have never made it a political statement. We are Roman Catholics. We are gay, we are lesbian. We are part of the body of Christ. We wear the sash, bringing our gifts. This is not about politics. Not at all. This is about Jesus and the Eucharist.
In wearing,
why don't you just,
in wearing that
I went
sash? Go ahead, Mr. Ambassador.
I showed up. I was at Mass yesterday. I was there with my grandchildren, my wife, my family. We didn't wear any sash. We didn't carry any signs. We weren't demonstrating. We were there as Catholics, proud Catholics, to receive the body and blood of Christ. We didn't call the media and have a press conference so the media would show up inside the church, disrupting the services for everybody else who wants to go to church on Pentecost Sunday. You're there because of the fact that you want to make a political statement. Fine, you can make all the political statements you want. The street is a place for political statements, not inside the church.
Well, Mr. Flynn,
go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I was also at Mass yesterday in a local parish. I did wear my sash. I participated like everyone else.
And in wearing,
there was no media.
Sash, though,
there was no media there. There was no
wasn't
protest
Chicago
of any kind.
In wearing that sash,
Mr.
Mudge,
well, Cardinal George made this issue.
No, he didn't. He didn't make it an issue at all. As a matter
Cardinal
of fact,
Mahoney
there is
was more than welcoming in Los Angeles.
You know, in Chicago,
wearing the sash. The
I know
bishop in
Chicago,
St. Paul, Minnesota, was welcoming to those wearing the sash.
Cardinal George has a program within the Archdiocese of Chicago. Cardinal George has a
Roman
program.
Catholics who are gay and lesbian standing up and being present and part of the community.
It's about political exploitation. It's about using a sacred issue of the Holy Eucharist, sacred to Catholics, for political expression.
Certainly.
Now, you're entitled to your political expression, but you're not allowed to do that at the
We have to leave the discussion
of
there.
other people.
Thank you very much.
Ambassador Ray Flynn and Charlie Mudge, thank you both. Coming up, Martha Stewart wants to teach poor women how